I'm here today with Veruska de Vita. I'm so excited. Veruska, please tell me about your relationship with the water.
Oh, Shannon, my relationship with the water goes back to when I was a small child. Like one of my earliest memories are actually of water, of being at the coast and also swimming in my aunt's swimming pool. I remember really, really clearly, and it was before my brother was born, so I must have been about 3 years old. I was standing on the step and I dared myself to actually go in a little bit further and see what it would be like to totally immerse myself in this amazing fluid, liquid environment. And so I did. I took a step forward and I sunk momentarily. And then I was floating on my back. And I remember feeling such a sense of safety, strangely enough, because I know that swimming can be quite a scary thing for a lot of people. And yet I felt quite held by the water. And since then, I've had this deep fascination with water. I remember thinking, like, what is water made of? Like, why does it move like it does? Why does it change color? Why does the Indian Ocean move differently to the Mediterranean Sea? Why do rivers have a particular smell? And this has stayed with me my whole life. And the connection has actually deepened to the point that it has taken me on amazing journeys and it has taken me to places on earth that I don't think I would have actually gotten to had I not had this curiosity.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that you can remember all the way back to being three and being held by the water. So the trust was just innate.
Yes. Like to me, water is my friend.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm very respectful of the water. I live in South Africa, so the country has the Indian Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean, and those are two tremendous moving aquatic environments that one needs to be very respectful of, and one needs to actually understand how the water moves and how the waves break and what to do if you're caught in a rip current. So while I do feel safe in water, I am deeply respectful of it because it is a lot bigger than me. And water moves to its own rhythm, which is beautiful.
So you feel held as a young child. How did you learn about the power of water, and how did you end up on all these amazing adventures that it took you on?
Gosh, so as children, my parents used to take us very often to a city called Durban, which is on the Indian Ocean coast. And I would always go deeper and deeper and swim further. And often I would be totally churned by the breakers. Like it would feel like I was in a washing machine. And I would hold my breath and then eventually come up for air. And my swimming costume was totally full of sand, and I had sand everywhere. And from those experiences, I actually learned how to almost read the water
Mm.
and watch how the breakers actually break because there is a rhythm to them. The tides do have a rhythm. And it's about actually watching, observing, listening, knowing the tides, and actually speaking to other people who understand swimming, the ocean, and the sea quite deeply. I I learned a lot from other people. I learned a lot from my parents. So my dad has always been a swimmer. He's also self-taught. He actually remembers himself the first time he actually stepped into the Mediterranean Sea and actually taught himself to swim. He actually said to me, like, when you actually in the water and your feet can't touch the ground, and you swallow water once or twice, you learn very, very quickly how to swim and how to understand the waves and how to float, and then how to actually get yourself safely back to shore. And I think part of my love for water comes from my dad. He's got these amazing stories of free diving for octopus and sea urchins. And he grew up in Sicily in the 1940s, 50s, and 60s. And he actually remembers taking his uncle's mule to the beach. And this was her treat for a hard day of work and
Wow.
slogging with like heavy grapes, like baskets of grapes up hills. And he he recounts the story to me quite often, where this mule would actually go into the waves and actually swim to where she couldn't even stand. And like he would actually swim around her and with her. And for him, it was one of the most profound childhood experiences because it's all about being so connected with nature. Because, as you know, like living in cities, we've become so, we've distanced ourselves from the rhythms of nature. And having that attachment to the water and actually heeding that call to get into the water, I think is so fundamental to humans and to human health and to human connection. And I do believe that it actually also sharpens our instincts because we are immersed in this natural environment.
That we were in for 9 months before we were, I mean, not, not,
Absolutely.
yeah, not freshwater, but it's, yeah, yeah, it's amazing to me. I love that this has been a lifelong exploration for you. So you have this love of the water from your dad, and you learned about the water from talking to people and from, your lessons from your parents. And where does it take you?
So it eventually took me on this roller coaster, amazing journey of writing a book. And so I started getting curious about freediving. It's something that I had always wanted to do. And as I decided that, right, now it's the time, I'm going to go, I'm going to do this, I'm going to learn how to hold my breath, I'm going to learn how to actually acclimatized to pressure and depth, COVID hit. So I did the next best thing. I started to reach out to the world's best freedivers because we were all in lockdown, right? I mean, there was a period where most countries were literally shut down. So I started speaking to Alexei Molchanov, Alessia Zecchini, Amber Fillery, Hannelie Prinsloo, and they told me the most amazing stories about what they do and also why they do it. And one of the things that stood out, actually, there were two things, but the first one is how they practice often and they are disciplined and they also push just beyond their comfort zone very safely, but they push themselves. And this developed in all of them the kind of resilience that actually allow them to deal with pretty much anything. Obviously not fatal things, but they know how to deal with failure. They know how to deal with having a bad day, having a bad dive, because it happens to all of us.
Mm-hmm.
We're going through a bad time emotionally. We've had a fight with somebody. We've been eating badly. We've slept badly. And they just understand themselves so well that they know they can get up, dust themselves off, and actually dive again. And I thought, wow, like if they can do this on such a scale, like we can all do this, we can all learn from them. And then the other thing, which like I had known about, but I have to admit, quite ignorant about, was the climate crisis.
Mm.
Like, for me, and I say this like looking back at myself, going like, oh, I was very ignorant. But it's a thing of there's a climate crisis happening. We have become quite disrespectful of the planet, for want of a better word. And all these people kept saying to me, I'm seeing changes in the ocean. There's less big fish. There's coral reefs that are dying. Um, there's so many bits of plastics floating around the ocean. They're seeing erosion. And I thought, you know what? This is something that also needs to be explored for myself. And it was also something that I wanted to bring to readers. So I also started chatting to scientists and environmentalists who actually work very closely with how the earth is changing and how us as humans can, if not stop the effects, but at least slow down the effects and at least understand what is happening and why it's happening, and learn to respect the earth again and learn to respect water again, because water is in every single one of us. So Shannon, like I'm quite sure you've got parts of the Pacific and the Atlantic and the Mississippi in you. I've probably got water from the Tugela River and the Mediterranean and the Indian Ocean inside my veins. And this was something that really hit home for me. The water on our planet is finite.
Mm.
It's been around for approximately 3.5 billion years. It is ancient. It is continuously recycled through absolutely everything, through the soil, it's filtered in the mountains, it's recycled through the animals that live on the planet. And we need to protect it. We need to enjoy it. We need to understand that it is inherently a part of us. It's inside our bodies. And that is how connected we are to the water. It doesn't matter where we live on planet Earth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and that for me was pivotal.
Yeah. It's so. I have one of my swimmers right now even talks about is a way of embracing a pool practice as where she's training to swim in a more tropical location in a couple months. But she talks about the pool waters being part of the global waters, because it is. I love how you talk about being in us. It's so true. I'm not sure that I've thought of it.
For me too. And I agree with your swimmer where even pool water is part of this magnificent aquatic environment on planet Earth. And it's an environment that we actually know so little about, really. And there's constantly like more discoveries being made. Sea life that nobody has ever seen before.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me is just so amazing. One of the people that I had many marathon chats with is a guy called Matthew Germishuizen, and he actually tracks the migratory patterns of southern right whales.
Mm-hmm.
And what he discovered was that their patterns are actually changing because there is less ice on the planet. So these magnificent aquatic mammals, they feed on krill, but the krill needs to be protected by the sea ice when it is still in its infant phase. So if the krill moves, then the southern right whales start to move. And this is how everything on Earth affects everything else. So the fact that your swimmer understands that the pool water is part of the tropical water that she'll be swimming in soon is wonderful. Because I'm quite sure that her reverence for the water has probably increased.
I feel like so many of us know this. Like we know climate crisis. We know we're all 60% water, and we know it's 70% of our earth. But it's like, how do we help how does a listener determine a step that they could take to raise, I guess, I don't know, is it increase awareness? Is it action? What do you see?
I think I agree with both of those. It's increased awareness, and it's also an action of actually visiting bodies of water more often, whether it's a river, a lake, a dam, the sea, an ocean, and actually enjoying the riverbank, the dam, the coastline, the beach. Because for me, if you enjoy something, you start to love it. And if you love something, you want to protect it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, I love what you do, where you encourage people to push their limits, to swim, to get fit, to enjoy the water. And I think that is also key in actually bringing more visibility to water protection.
My secret, deep, dark hope that more having more swimmers will have more people that care about whether even pool scarcity is a thing around where I am in America, where there's not enough places for people to swim, or the places that are you have to swim are so crowded. And so anyway, but we need more people to make some noise about that or to want to go to the natural bodies of water so that they can stay swimmable. So it's what looks like helping people push their limits is really a homegrown effort to help more people. Like at the end of the day, it's feel comfortable and confident in the water for whatever you want to do with it, wherever you want to go. To know your body in the water, I think, is just so powerful.
It really, really is. So as part of the journey of writing this book, I started open water swimming, which has opened my eyes to a whole new world of communities of swimmers. It's the best thing ever.
Right? I love it too.
It's amazing. Swimming by yourself is great, but swimming in a group is phenomenal. I think it's amazing. Like swimming in a group for me is akin to being in a pod of dolphins. It's you can actually like feel other people's movement in the water because of the way water ripples, and it's listening to everyone else's breath, and it's that momentum that you get with being in the slipstream with other people. It's profound. I find that for me, I can actually swim so much further when I'm in a group, much further. And that is so interesting because that actually ripples out, I think, into all aspects of our lives, be it work, be it raising children. When we do things as a community or in groups, there's so much more joy and ease in the practice, right? And in the action. And this actually it open water swimming and swimming in a group just taught me so much.
I love that.
It doesn't matter how you feel. Like you can be having the worst day ever.
Yes. Yes.
And just getting into that water, and it's like it's a little bit cold, and then your skin kind of prickles into goosebumps, into goose flesh, and then you're in the water. And I just find like my whole body relaxes. My thoughts start to tick to a different rhythm. I feel lighter. Um, Everyone's happy to be in the water, and you don't even have to talk. Like, if you don't feel like talking, just being with a group of people who aren't judging you, they're not looking at the cellulite on your thighs.
It's
It's
I
like,
feel like, yeah, I feel like it's an obstacle for people that self the and maybe it's more of an American thing, but I feel like that people use it's a barrier for them to get over, like getting into the water, which is such a sadness to me. But you're right. At the end of the day, we're all so concerned and caught up with ourselves. Nobody's thinking about you or what that person looks like, because they're so worried about themselves and what they look like. But at the end of the day, once you get to the water, once you get over that hurdle and you go to the water, I think there's something that's so authentic about who we are when we're in that place I find is hard to get anywhere else. Like, to, because you're vulnerable. You're like forced to be vulnerable because you're like half naked, almost, in being one with this medium. And it just puts us in a different place if we can get there, right?
yes, and I agree with you. This thing of getting into a bathing suit for a lot of people is, I think it's sometimes more scary than actually swimming.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Because it is such a barrier, because it's like I'm so exposed. Like a bathing costume leaves nothing to the imagination. And yet, once you actually mentally get over that hurdle, and your skin is exposed to the air and the wind and the elements, the sun, the water, something happens. I mean, sometimes it takes a few times of doing it, but something happens where you start to get very comfortable in your own skin. Because instead of being worried about, oh, people are looking at my behind and, oh, this, like, you start to realize how amazing your body is. And I think once that happens, you're like, you know what? Yes, I've put on a little bit of weight. It's a festive season. I've eaten too many sweet things. But you know what? Look at the cool things my body can do. Like, I'm in this water, and, yesterday I was swimming half a mile, and today I can actually get to a mile. Like, how amazing is that? And I find that thought actually totally overrides the, oh, I'm feeling a bit embarrassed to be in a wetsuit
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that is immense. That is huge. I mean, it was huge for me. Like, especially like the first few times where you're standing on the beach, and you kind of think that people are looking, and you think there's a bit of kind of body hierarchy where, there's like the slim line swimmers and the guys who are all buff with their six packs. But then the more you look around, you realize that there are all ages, there are all shapes and sizes, and everybody's quite relaxed, and everybody's there just to actually swim and have a good time,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
which is amazing.
Right. So tell me about those first few times. What kept you coming back? Obviously, I mean, you fell in love with it.
It was the people. I It was the community. I went by myself. And from that very first time, I I felt like people actually just brought me into the fold, and they put me at ease, because I was so nervous. I was so nervous. Like, it's one thing kind of poodling around and doing a bit of breaststroke in the bay. It's a whole other thing being part of a group and then being part of a race that's happening in False Bay, uh, which starts at Simonstown, Long Beach, in the Western Cape of South Africa, which is a magnificent part of the world. And it's timed, and there are these world-renowned swimmers like Karina Brewer, who's also on the beach. And it's so intimidating. And I was like, okay, like, what if I get cold? What if I get a cramp? What if I can't do this? What if I get eaten by a shark? What if I get bitten by a rabbit seal? What if I see a stingray and I don't know what to do? Like, all these thoughts are going through my head. And then people were on the beach and they were relaxed. And I started chatting to someone and they were like, no, no, don't worry. Like, we haven't seen a white shark here in years. Um, like, yeah, I mean, the seals have rabies, but there's people on canoes that are looking out for these seals. So you'll be fine. Don't worry. You'll be fine. Just enjoy the water. And it just put me at ease.
How did you have the courage to sign up in the first place? That sounds like such a daunting proposition if you're to non-swimmer.
I think I got to a point in life where I realized, and I know this is such a cliche, but life is short. You only live once. I want to have these experiences. I've been chatting to all these marathon swimmers and I'm feeling so inspired. And it's actually time to actually push through these weird self-sabotaging hurdles because they really are. They at the end of the day, they're not that big. They're not that big. And I was like, yes, I'm scared. Yes, I'm nervous. I don't know if I'll manage the swim. But worst case scenario, I'll get pulled up on the canoe and rowed, back to the beach. And it was fine.
Yeah.
And it was absolutely fine. And I loved it. I wanted to do more. And isn't that what always happens?
Right? When we can get over those little things that are holding us back. And there's a big surrender there too. I mean, you had the community emboldening you to like that it's okay, or they haven't seen somebody, but there's still you have to allow yourself to find out, what'll happen and to get like to trust that maybe the water will take care of you. Maybe, that you'll come out the other side.
Exactly. And I think trust is a big part of it. I think trust in oneself and trust in life, actually. But when it comes to that, I think preparation is also key.
Mm.
I think if you have practiced the swimming, if you are mentally prepared, if you've spoken to people who have assured you, it makes an enormous difference. I trained a lot before the open water swim. Because I am Joburg based, which is about 500 kilometers from the coast.
Oof.
Yeah, it's far, but I get to the coast quite often. I did lots of pool training, many hours a week. So my body was ready. My mind was ready. I was breathing well. My stroke was good. So there was preparation, and this also allowed me to trust my body because I knew I could do it. I wasn't going in going, oh well, I'm just going to throw caution to the wind. I haven't trained. I don't know how it's going to be. I didn't do that. I made sure that there was preparation. And I think preparation is key to a lot of big goals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it helps with the trust.
Mm-hmm.
And it helps with getting to understand your body and how far you can push and when to get out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when to say, you know what, I'm not in a good space. I'm actually going to stop, but I'm going to try again tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the practice of swimming has given me is a lot more trust in my body and a lot more understanding of my body, which is it's wonderful.
Yeah. It empowers you. And have you seen that trust kind of seep into your day to day?
Yes, I trust my decision making more. as strange as that may sound, like the practice of swimming and just having that space and that peace. Because, I mean, when your head is in the water, sound is muffled, time seems to slow down, you're in flow, but you're also, it's almost like your instinctive self is talking to you, is talking back to you. And that has hugely helped with my decision making and trusting those decisions and actually choosing what's good for me, big and small.
Mm-hmm.
And 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 strangely enough, it has honed and sharpened how I read other people's body language. So
Mm.
swimming has made me understand body language a lot deeper,
Wow.
because when you're in the water swimming with other people, it's your skin, it's your body that actually starts to understand other people's movements. And you can actually feel like what kind of day they're having.
You have a very keen awareness.
It's an awareness. It's a
Yes.
different awareness, and it's interesting.
Mm-hmm. You talked about that though, even as a young person at the beach, learn developing that awareness and that ability to listen. So how would you recommend that somebody hone and tune that ability? Because I don't think it's in all of us, right?
It is and it isn't. I think it might be in all of us, maybe because of the way we live in our lifestyles, where we commute in motorized vehicles, and we walk around with headphones and pods in our ears. We're quite detached from the natural world, even the air and the sounds around us. And swimming brings back that awareness. It it teaches us to listen again with our bodies, with our hearts, with our gut, with that feeling, that like feeling. It teaches us to listen and to trust that we can actually heed that and go with that. And that is one of the beautiful side effects of swimming, besides the fitness and the increased lung capacity and the way the water feels on your skin, and the way it just brings you back to earth, actually.
I'm struck by a few things. I guess you started telling me about your curiosity about free diving, and you had even echoed that with your father's story and how that led you to these amazing conversations. You talked about the resilience that free divers have. And it's interesting to me just because when I started the podcast around the same time in 2020 as a long distance swimmer, and really curious to understand my own drive and myself to swim long distances. It's that same resilience that I felt like I saw in other long distance swimmers, and how it helps us. Like the curiosity in interviewing and talking to a lot of other marathon swimmers was to understand: do you feel as I do how this has emboldened, empowered me in my life by building this resilience through these swims and things that I do? But what's come around to it for me is to where it's the water, which is where you started out with this love of the water. And it just occurs to me, people talk about that idea in the shower idea or whatever, and it's that lucid thinking that the water enables. Is there anything in your research or anyone you talk to helps you understand that piece of it about how the water enables us to have that loose, like, I want to say lucid, I don't know if that's the word for it, space where we can connect those dots, and it grounds us, right? Like the benefits, as you just mentioned too. It's yeah, tell me.
Yes, I agree with you. Those lucid, crystal clear thoughts, those really true thoughts, seem to occur when people are in water or near water, or even just if they're not in the sea, but just kind of watching the waves. It does something to the brain, right? And it does something to the nervous system. I spoke with a lot of people who actually find healing with the water, especially with cold water immersion. One of the women that I spoke to, she had chronic pain in her back, and she went for physiotherapy and to the chiropractor, and she took tablets for pain, and nothing was really helping her. So she started swimming in the Atlantic, just in a bathing costume. So we're talking, okay, I'm talking degrees. I don't know Fahrenheit, but around maybe 12 degrees, which is really cold. Like it's cold.
53 Fahrenheit. Yep. Yep.
Okay, there you go. And she did it for about a month. She swam every single day for about a month. And by the end of that period, the pain was gone.
Wow.
And when she went back to her physiotherapist, he explained to her that what happens when we immerse ourselves in very cold water is that there is vasoconstriction. So, in other words, our blood vessels constrict because now the body wants to push all that beautiful warm blood to our core. So, to the vital organs, to the brain, to the face, to the heart, to the lungs. And it also, like that, this vasoconstriction actually feels painful. So now the nervous system is like highly engaged, and you actually can't think about anything else because it is so like painful. But what it does is that it almost retars the pathways in the nervous system. So the nervous system forgets the pain, which had now become phantom pain. It wasn't real pain, but it was pain memory. And it actually almost rewires so that your nervous system is clear. And that for me was amazing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was amazing. Another woman from Holland, her name is Kiki Bosch. She had a really traumatic experience, and to actually try and soothe herself, she started swimming also in cold oceanic waters. And she persisted to the point that she started to train to swim in the sulfur fissure, which is basically where in the northern hemisphere, the European mass continent and I think it's the United States continent actually meet.
Hmm.
It is very dangerous, extremely cold, but this was her goal. So she was living in London at the time, and London in winter is really cold. Like we're talking Boston winter. Okay. Like it's gray and dark and cold. And on waking, she would actually immerse herself into an ice bath, which she kept outside for about 30 minutes. Can you imagine the mind control that this woman has?
The UK people that do their winter dipping, I mean, I can see how it's probably the only thing they can do to stay sane because it's yeah, the dark. I'm with you. I'm with you. I live in a place where sun comes out. Yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, and speaking of sanity, this totally kept her sane. And she swam in the sulfur fissure in a G-string bikini.
Wow.
For about 16 minutes.
Wow.
Unscathed. So she still had all the sensation in her fingers and her extremities. And this love for ice cold water, she has actually taken to other people, and she actually helps people with addiction, with mental health issues where nothing else has helped.
Wow. Wow. It's amazing.
And to me, it's just phenomenal. And again, it's that connection with nature, connection with water, surrender, trust, not trying to control everything, which I mean, we do. As humans, we try and control.
We
And
want to, but
yes, we want to, but I mean, we can't control the seasons. We can't control the dark, the
no,
sunlight.
no.
And I think it, the water brings us back to that. It brings us back to surrendering to this planet that holds us and resources us also.
I love it. This is amazing. Tell us about your book and where we can find it.
So, my book is titled Deep Blue: Why We Love the Sea. I'll actually show you.
Lovely. Thank you.
And it's got a beautiful blue cover, and it's available from Amazon.com as a paperback and as an ebook.
And you said you spoke with freedivers and you spoke with marathon swimmers. What else can we find in there?
Oh, there's a fascinating woman by the name of Amber Fillery who swims in frozen lakes. So she's a phenomenal athlete. She has been a swimmer her whole life. She wanted to be a competitive freediver because she can actually hold her breath for 6 minutes and beyond. She doesn't even get contractions. Do you know what contractions are?
No, tell me. I mean, other than having a baby, contractions, I know those kind, but
It's very similar, actually, I have to say.
interesting. Wow.
But without the pain.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
when you hold your breath, a few things happen in the body. Red blood cells are released from the spleen because they are oxygenated. And there comes a point, and it's different for everybody. This happens to me at about 3 minutes of breath holding. Where your ribs meet. So it's like the top of your stomach almost.
Mm-hmm.
Those muscles start to actually twitch like labor, like being in labor. It's because and it's totally involuntary, but it's not painful at all. It's just really uncomfortable. And it's your body's way of pushing your ribs and your lungs to actually start breathing again.
Huh. Wow.
So that's quite interesting. It's something that happens to most people when they hold their breath for longer than their body is comfortable with, right? So Amber doesn't even get those, so she's quite an anomaly. So when she tried to be a competitive depth freediver, she burst her eardrums, unfortunately.
Ooh, wow.
I know, right? Like, depth diving is not for everybody. It's the world's best freedivers are really good at it, but their bodies are also built for it. And just from chatting to researchers who research these freedivers, they've also said to me, like, some bodies are totally adapted to depth and other bodies are not. And it's just how it is. Like, you can try and you can try, but you will damage your body somehow. So what Amber's coach did was he said to her, look, you're really good. You can hold your breath for long. Why don't you try horizontal breath hold and doing this in frozen lakes? And she has done so, where she's broken the women's record, the men's record.
Wow.
And I think a few times. So wow. It's just interesting where the practice of just pushing your body just beyond that comfort zone actually can take you.
Yeah. It's interesting.
And obviously doing it safely. I wouldn't encourage anybody to try and hold their breath for 6 minutes if they've never done it before, for
Right,
example.
right.
Like
Yeah,
it's a practice. It's you need to do it regularly, as with anything else, to actually get your body used to it and to do it well.
yeah. I think at least where I am in my journey, I still feel like as humans who come from water, from being born for after being underwater for 9 months and then becoming terrestrial beings, I feel like there's something beautiful about the air water interface. And I think we're perfectly equipped to operate right there on the surface. I'm just not a free diver. My ears, I don't anyway, I just haven't learned how to regulate it. So anyway, I'm just going to stick with my air water interface to do my swimming.
Absolutely. I mean, the depth thing is not for everybody.
Yeah.
And I also found out about the Badjo people, who are sea nomads who live in and around the waters of Indonesia, Malaysia, and the Philippines. And in exploring this, I actually made contact with a geneticist called Melissa Ilado, who is actually from Salt Lake City.
Oh, wow.
And this geneticist actually discovered that the Badjo people have spleens that are double in size
Wow. Uh-huh.
than most other human beings.
Mm-hmm. So cool.
And this is part of microevolution. It actually proves that the sea shapes us, where we live shapes us, our altitude shapes our bodies. That, again, we are connected to our environment. It actually shapes us. I find it amazing. I mean, these sea nomads have spleens that allow them to dive to depths of about 70 meters and probably beyond that, and multiple times a day. And like multiple times a day, not just once or twice, like many. And the other thing that Melissa found was, because they hardly walk, the soles of their feet are really soft
Oh,
because they're
interesting.
always in the water.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Wow. Sea nomads. That's awesome. Very
Yes.
cool. Well, I can't wait to read your book. I'm so excited. I know what I want for Christmas.
Fantastic.
Thank you for your time, Veruska. I feel like I want to hear your stories all day, but I want to be sure and respect your time, and maybe we can have you back someday to hear more stories.
Oh, I would love that, Shannon. Like, yeah, I think stories about the sea and from the sea are forever stories.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.